Welcome to Deeply Connected. And today's episode will give you so much clarity on why you show up the way you show up in all your relationships. You will be mind blown by the discovery you will receive today. So very often always when I work with my clients, we dive into our attachment styles. And what does that even mean? Attachment is the way we bond and connect to another human being. And we create those attachment bonds from a very early childhood. The moment we come into this world, we need other people to survive. And based on how our needs are met or not met, if you are in a safe environment or not, we will develop a different types of attachment. And before we dive into the subject, I also want to say that you are not your attachments. I love to look at the attachments because it shows us specific behaviors and we can understand them and why we adapt it in specific ways when we relate to ourselves and other people. But I want you to know that you are more than your type of attachment. And that also I want you to know that attachments are fluid and they can change with time and shift, and you can have different types of attachments depending on the circumstances, the situations, the phases of your life and people you are interacting with. So you can be very anxious in your intimate relationships and you can be very avoidant in your friendships, or vice versa. Or you can be on one way very anxious in your friendships and then disorganized in your intimate relationships. So what do those terms even mean? They mean there is a specific way you think, act, and feel about yourself and another person when you engage in a relationship, when you engage in a connection. You want to connect to someone, and depending on your attachment style, you will act and behave and feel in different ways. So if you had parents that were really there, they were stable, they were consistent, they really supported your all fundamental needs of safety, connection, security, stability, you are really taken care of, you most likely have a secure attachment. What that means is you have a very positive view of yourself, you have a positive view of other people, you are not afraid of confronting conflict or engaging in conflict, you know how to navigate difficult conversations, you are very comfortable with your feelings, you are also comfortable to hold space for other people's feelings. You are secure in a way you relate to yourself and how you relate to others. When you are really securely attached, or you are in the moments when you feel securely attached to yourself, you are present, courageous, calm, conscious, connected, creative. So those moments when you are engaging in activity that brings you peace or enjoyment or fulfillment, those are the moments when you feel securely attached with yourself or with another person if you are doing activities with other people or you have conversations with them. And we all strive to be more securely attached because we possess then emotional resiliency. We can regulate our nervous system. We don't experience so much of the highs and lows. We just know how to feel home within ourselves and in relationships. If you are securely attached, you are one lucky person. And when we coach, and I coach with my clients, I really guide them through the process to be more securely attached with themselves and also teach them how they can support themselves when they feel anxious, avoidant, or disorganized. Anxious attachment presents itself in behaviors of lack of boundaries, thinking very positively of other people, but not so positively of yourself. You always think that other people are better than you in many ways. In intimate relationships, it will feel like if there's something is happening and it's not going well, you will be blaming yourself and thinking that your partner is the better person and he knows what he's doing. And you will do whatever it takes to bring peace to the relationship. Anxiously attached people love relationships. They love connection. This attachment was created because was developed because the parents or a parent, caregivers, were sometimes present, sometimes available, sometimes meeting your needs, and other times they were not. So there's this inconsistency. So you know how it feels to feel connected, but there was lack of consistency and knowing when it's going to happen. So you are craving the connection. Anxiously attached people, they really love to be around people. They love to do for others, but often at the expense of their own well-being. So in romantic relationships, it can look like I will do for my partner, even if it doesn't fit my schedule, even if it's at my own expense, even if I want to say no, I will say yes, because I have a hard time saying no, because I am afraid that I will be left and abandoned. There's so much positive in people that are anxiously attached because they love people and they do want to help. And when you are dating someone or you are married to someone that is anxiously attached in the relationship, they really need a lot of validation. They really need a lot of validation. And they need to hear that they are appreciated. They need to have this external validation so they can feel better about themselves very often. When that is on a spectrum, it becomes a codependency. They need people. And if you are anxiously attached in your relationships, there is a way to really keep moving towards being more securely attached and still giving to people, but giving to people on your own terms, not because you want to be loved and you don't want to be rejected. When you are avoidant in your relationships, you will have a very positive view of yourself, but negative view of other people. You most likely will blame somebody else for things that go wrong in your relationship. You will think it's your partner is the problem, not you. You are very independent. You need a lot of time on your own. Being around people can be challenging because you have learned to meet your own needs in your own way. And why do we even need people? But you do want connection. So we see the challenge there. If you are emotionally avoidant, it's very hard to express your feelings. You don't really like to navigate conflict. So it's very different than anxious person, because anxious person will follow you until you are open for the conversation because they want to resolve the conflict immediately. And when you are avoidant, that feels like, oh, this is too much. I am not in a space to deal with this. Your energy, your emotions are overwhelming my nervous system right now. And truly, I cannot cope with this. So I need space and I need to lean back to be able to even enter this conversation. And for me, the best is just to move on to another subject. So avoidant people in their attachment, they are very focused. They can be very analytical, very logical. They are very productive because very often they're disconnected from their own feelings. So not only you are disconnected from a lot of emotional connection in your relationship, you also are disconnected from the emotions and feelings that you are experiencing because you had to learn how to be independent, count on yourself, and don't pay attention to how you feel. Before we move to disorganized attachment, I just want to say that if you are anxious and your partner is avoidant, this dynamic will look very, very interesting because you will want to have all those conversations. You will want to do for him. You will want to resolve conflict immediately. And as you will be that person in the relationship, your partner will feel very uncomfortable at times and it will be too much and he will need his space. And look what I'm doing. And I'm leaning back. And this is exactly what he will start doing. When we as women come in and keep coming in towards the men who are more avoidant, they will lean back because they need their space. So this dynamic is so... this dynamic happens for many couples, of course, unconsciously. And it's this dance of I'm coming in because I want connection. You are leaning back because that's too much for you. And if we are unaware of what is happening, we take it all very personal. We don't know how to really work with somebody who is not open to connecting at all times that we want the connection. So just understanding that you make sense and your partner makes sense, or if you are avoidant, you make sense as well. And remember, when I talk about attachment, that you are not your attachment, that there is more to you. There is a personality, there is your DNA, there is your culture, there is your society. Everything, all the beliefs from, different points of lives are also influencing you as a person. So Attachment is fluid and it's changeable, and you are not your attachment. We are just looking at the behaviors and what they create and why we behave those ways. I want you to really keep it in mind, because I don't want you to label yourself as I'm just this attachment. No, you are more than that. And we can see anxious behaviors, and even though avoidant people don't look like they're anxious, they are anxious, because every attachment that is not secure comes from anxiousness. We just present it differently in our behaviors. So then when we go to this organized attachment, it becomes very interesting, because we have the anxious part of you and the avoidant part of you. So I want the connection so much, but when I'm coming in to connect, I'm so scared because I've been hurt before. I've been hurt so badly that I don't know if I can trust you. So one foot on the gas if you are thinking about the car, and one foot on the brake. And it goes between brake and gas and brake and gas. And it's like pull and pull. And like you push forward, you lean in, and then you lean back. And you lean in and you lean back. And the closer you get to connection, the closer you get to feeling like we are getting finally deeply connected, you are going to pull back. And then you create a disconnection. So it can be very confusing for your partner, because one day it seems like you are all in and I'm here and I feel you. And the second day I'm like, I'm out. I can't be doing this. This is too much. And I am afraid I'm going to be let down. So I really need to keep protecting myself. So depending on the attachment style also, it's this organized attachment is like, I hate you, but please don't leave me. This is how it goes. I hate you, but don't leave me. Don't go, but I can't be around you. This is how it really works. So it's a mixture of both. And we really need to understand how we can support ourselves and understand ourselves to move towards more of the secure attachment. So it's very important to express your needs and your desires and your needs, values, and desires, because very often they were not met. And so you have learned not to ask, or you were even physically or emotionally or sexually abused in some ways. And, like, for example, your whole emotions could have been ignored your whole life and you were told to just suck it up. And it's created this but then one parent could be available sometimes. So there is some connection, but there's also fear of connection, right? So it's a learned behavior. It's a learned way of being in this world. So if you are in, so all those attachments have needs, all those attachments have value, and you are valuable no matter your attachment. I'm just sharing this so you can understand your behaviors a little bit more. If you were from the early age left alone to your own devices, if there was nobody to lean on when you were in pain, or you were crying and you were ridiculed, people were laughing at you or bullying you when you were crying, or you were told to toughen up, you have learned how to avoid emotions, because they bring a lot of shame, but also there is lack of support. So it is very important to understand boundaries, to understand how you can express your desires. And if you are in this dance of anxious avoidant, we need to understand that avoidant people really need their space. And it's okay for them to want that. Avoidant people really want their needs to be heard and also respected, because their needs never were respected by anyone. So if you are an anxious person and the partner asks you, I just need some space right now, please respect that. Respect that so they can learn to trust you. Because if we want to heal attachment and we're in a relationship anxious avoidant, we need to really be able to work with each other. And of course, two parties need to be open to this, but you yourself as an anxious person can change so much in the dynamic. If you are constantly coming in and you are constantly asking for attention, and that can also be in your friendships, right? In your friendships, you can feel like I will be abandoned, I will be rejected, I need to be nice and I need to be a liked person, otherwise I will be left alone. Again, you need to learn that if you are friends with avoidant people, they will need their space as well. And it can become very, very overwhelming and very demanding on an avoidant person. And also for a secure person, if you are friends with a secure person, but you need so much validation and so much recognition that, yes, I value you, yes, you matter, over and over again, a secure person will really at some point say, I love you, but this is a lot and I need to set a boundary. So just understanding that, yes, we can have our needs met in a relationship and we can look for validation with other people because we all want to be validated. Let's be honest. If you don't do any work to feel secure within yourself on some level, looking for that security within others will always end in a very negative way. It's not going to work for you. So, anxious person needs to learn how to really lean back and not constantly move forward and not to chase and not to demand. Learn how to slowly but surely create the self-security within themselves, right? And how can you do that? Well, first you need to really understand what do I really like to do on my own? And if there is nothing, you better find something. How can I keep connecting to myself through some hobbies, right? As I said, what do you like doing outside of your work? If I'm anxious in my relationship, can I build more on friendships and can I build more with other people than just my partner? It's really in the ways of how can I support myself when I feel like I'm alone, nobody is there, and I feel this need to connect. I feel this need to be loved and validated. How can I do this for myself? This is huge. If you can start working with this as an anxiously attached person, a lot will change in your relationship dynamic. And as we speak of attachment and how we can understand the boundaries and our needs, I also want to say that every behavior comes back to a schema. So I work with my clients around schemas, and schemas are implicit memories. It's like a mental map. So there was a moment in your life, something happened, it was a situation, and that situation had emotional charge to it. And then your brain took kind of a snapshot of that situation, and there is a feeling attached to it, and it was not completely processed. The feeling, the emotion connected to that experience wasn't completely processed. So it's stuck in your system. And until you can access it now with, integrated brain, meaning the left part of your brain and the right and the left part of your brain online, and your brain connected to the body in a calm, connected state, this memory, this snapshot called schema, understanding of the world, when I do this, this happens. And when this happens, I feel this way. So I need to continue doing this. So for example, I want to be truly myself in my relationships, fully expressed. But I can't, because when I do, I'm told that I'm too much. It reminds me of my childhood when I would be running around the house singing and yelling, and my father would look at me and yell and say, you need to calm down, lady, and you need to be quiet right now because it's too much. This is not a lady behavior. And it would make me feel very ashamed and disconnected and like there was something wrong with me. So it is very important for me to keep hiding those big, joyful parts of myself in my relationships, because otherwise I will be scolded at. You see, it's like the snapshot of the situation connected to a feeling, and it's stuck in your nervous system and your body because it wasn't yet integrated. Because when those situations happen, we respond from our emotional brain, not from our logical brain. So now we need to create an integration. And when we integrate those memories, it's like we open the file, we take it out, we work with this, and now we change the meaning of the file and also emotion connected to it. We have ability to integrate that without our internal system. And so when we talk about attachments, when I speak of boundaries, when I speak of how to build your self-esteem and self-confidence, always, we not only look at the behaviors are just the symptoms. We really need to be the researcher and understand where is this behavior coming from. And there can be a lot of schemas attached to one behavior because there could be a lot of moments. And then depending on what schema we discover, we can kind of integrate a lot of memories and a lot of snapshots. Another characteristic of disorganized attachment in a person is that you have a negative view of yourself, but also a negative view of others. So with anxious attachment, it was negative view of yourself, positive view of others. With avoidant, positive view of yourself, negative view of others. And then disorganized, it's negative view of yourself and negative view of others. And there is really such a deep wound of trust. There is a lot of blame. And it comes from this deep core wounding that you have experienced in your childhood. So it's very important to understand where our behaviors come from and your behaviors come from so you can make sense to yourself, because very often our brain will offer this thought, there is something wrong with me. Like, I want connection, but I'm avoiding relationships. Or I want to be more self-secure, but I'm constantly running towards people and I can't figure it out how to be more confident on my own. Or I want the connection, but I don't want you to get too close to me. So nothing is wrong with you. You always make sense. And the more you can understand yourself, the more freedom you will gain with just self-acceptance. And if you can accept yourself more, you have so much more opening to accept others and understand them. So with this awareness, a lot of things can become less personal. And when you get activated or triggered, you can understand, well, this person is doing, pulling back because they might be afraid of closeness. And if you are aware, you can work with this. And if the person trusts enough to be open to working with you as well, you can still have an amazing relationship. But if you recognize some patterns in your partner and in yourself, and you keep doing work on yourself and your partner doesn't, and he's not responding to you changing, or not responding to you giving him space, or not responding to you having boundaries or requests, then there is always a question of, I understand you, and now I have a choice, I understand myself, and I work on myself, and now I'm in choice of, do I want to keep going through this pattern and through this way of connecting or disconnecting, or I really want something more for myself. So setting boundaries for ourselves and for the people we engage with is very important. In most intimate relationships, in business, with our parents, like, I will always mention all types of relationships. So boundaries for ourselves. What do we allow? What do we allow ourselves to do? Like, if you want to be more confident, are you allowing yourself to constantly run and chase after people? If that's your pattern, you need to decide, do I want to do some work to be changing it and leaning back and standing more in my own self-confidence and building it little by little, but really working on it. And there is a difference between, doing the work and asking for support, and not doing the work and keeping other people accountable for your own way of feeling and how you present yourself in relationships. So pay attention to that. Figure out what patterns you want to be working with. How do you want to keep relating to yourself and other people? What are the negative views of yourself and others? And how do you want to really perceive yourself and feel about yourself and the people you're engaged with? And so boundaries are very important. When you are anxiously attached and you are in a relationship with a more avoidant person, you really need to respect their need for space. So you, of course, can communicate that and say, I understand you need more space, and I would love us to connect today or tomorrow. And if they still are not open to this and they need even more space, then again, it's up to you to take your personal power back by saying, I really need more connection, and I understand that is not what you can be with right now. And I respect you, but I need to say no to, if you are dating, seeing you or being with you. If you are in a long-term relationship and married with kids, this conversation can go very differently. And for you in a relationship, I would really advise you to focus heavily on self-care, heavily on your own pleasure, and really pull back and see if your partner will start coming towards you. Because very often, and I don't say in all their circumstances, because with disorganized attachment, it can look different. But very often when we just focus more on ourselves and we really nourish ourselves and take care of ourselves, not only, I love to look great and have my nails done, my hair done, but really taking care of your emotional well-being, when we do that and when we fill our emotional bucket with different people besides our partners, we become so much more radiant, and then the avoidant person doesn't feel like they're responsible for you or required to be responsible for you, and they more likely will be leaning towards you more slowly but surely. So recognizing those patterns and understanding that there is nothing wrong with you, that you always make sense, and that you can always choose, even though it will be hard in the beginning, because shifting and changing is never as easy as it sounds. It requires courage and commitment, but you really can understand that no matter who I'm with, first I need to look at my own patterns, how I'm presenting, and then look at how the people are engaged with are presenting, and are my core needs met. Do I meet my own core needs first? And what do I need from my partner, right? Because you don't want to hold your partner responsible to meet all your needs. That's literally impossible. So if I have a client and they have a low self-esteem, but they're very tough, like I have a lot of tough women who look like they got it all together, but underneath there is a lot of lack of self-confidence. Literally, it's like they look confident, but they don't feel confident. And now they're trying to learn how to be softer and how to really learn how to be strong on the inside and soft on the outside, instead of soft on the inside and strong and tough on the outside. It will require some changes and some shifts, but I cannot address it more than say, if you have a low self-esteem, no matter what your partner will do, you will always feel like he's not doing enough. And I have clients like that. The partner, there's not much problem with the partner. Maybe sometimes he needs to take more charge in a relationship, but because he has been with a woman who was very tough, there is no space for him to step in, because we literally, and I will say that very nicely, as strong, tough women, we can train our men to do almost nothing, because we will take over. It's better if I do it. I know how to do this. You don't do it my way. You don't do like, and then the men become, we literally emasculate men. And then when we get burned out, we are frustrated, feeling, I want him to step in. Well, you chased him off from giving and supporting you. So now it's going to take some time for you to lean back so he can finally step into this and step into giving to you. Not your way, but his way many times, right? So really learning how to do that and working with yourself, because when you are anxiously attached, you will be looking for external validation over and over and over again. And no matter how much you receive of this external validation, it will never feel enough. So you can ask your partner for support as you do your work, but literally focusing on yourself, your self-care in all aspects, emotional, mental, physical, and building yourself from within will help so much for you not to lean forward all the time, not to count on him all the time, and also building a bigger community or bigger network of people that you can relate to. That's for the anxiously attached. And also when we are anxiously attached, we can, as women, dump so much on our men. We just overshare, emotionally dump everything, every emotion I'm feeling today. I need you to know that. And for romantic relationships, it really kills the attraction. It kills the desire. So find friends that they can hold space for you. And of course, your man is there to support you. But if every day of your life is complaining, blaming, criticizing, and emotional dumping, this romance is going to die out really fast. And especially if you are with a person who is a little bit more avoidant, this is going to be way too many emotions, too much of this emotional roller coaster and drama, because their system cannot handle this, because they are disconnected very often from themselves. For the person who is more avoidant, I really encourage you to ask for what you need. And your needs were very often not met as a child, so you count on yourself. But if you're in a relationship, you can ask for more space. You can ask for, honey, I love you, and when I get frustrated, I need some space, and I will come back to you. Really asking for what you need and setting some boundaries and allowing your partner to meet them and also give you space will teach you that it's safe to ask and how it feels to be supported and met, because nobody did that for you before. With disorganized attachment, when we go in between, just knowing that this is the pattern you are working with, really noticing and being aware. I say for all those attachments, so important to know the core wounds and how it looks like for you and how it feels like. So when we get activated or dysregulated, we can notice which attachment wound is being now activated within ourselves. And when we work with attachment, I also work with schemas. And what it means is we really go into finding and discovering those moments in our life that created implicit beliefs, implicit meaning unconscious. So you have behaviors and you have a story about the behavior, but we really don't know the belief that it's coming from. There is a story, but the story almost never is the whole story. So when we do this self-exploratory work, we find those snapshots of your memory. So something was happening in your life, and then your body, your nervous system got activated and triggered. And there is this brain took a snapshot of the situation, connected to the emotion that it was very intense. And because you were in an activated state, your logical brain was offline, the memory was not integrated. The emotion wasn't processed fully. So when we find this schema, this mental map that has a meaning, we can really pull it out from unconsciousness to consciousness. And now in the state of being safe and connected with me in a session, you can work with your left part and right part of the brain. There is some integration and flow, and also brain to body, body to brain. And as we talk about the experience and as you process it, this integration happens and there is more harmony. So now that memory, that snapshot, that mental map doesn't have so much charge and so much, it doesn't grab you as intensely as it used to. So the schema work with attachments and internal family parts, I use different types of modalities, is very supportive of processing not only what's conscious, but really addressing the root of the behavior. And it gives you so much understanding about yourself. And sometimes we even don't know where it comes from. So for example, let me give you a snapshot of a schema. So I had a client who, of course, very independent, all of them. And she's in a relationship, and she just doesn't want to depend on a man. Like, I need to make my own money. Everything is 50-50. Like, I need to be able to support myself. And as we did the self-exploration, it had nothing to do with her partner right now. It had to do with a part of her life where her father lost money in the business and they were forced to move to another country because of that. And her mom was completely unaware. Her mom didn't have any influence on the decision-making in the financial sphere of the life. And so it was so hard to move to another country for her, right? That there was a memory, like there was a schema created for her, that if I don't know what my man is doing all the time, first of all, so, right, because the mom didn't know, and if I don't have my own finances and I'm just really responsible for myself and I don't count on him, I can end up like literally losing everything, losing my whole life, moving to another country. I feel disconnected, I feel lonely, even though that there were some good moments of this experience and she adapted well, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of pain in that move because the move was out of desperation and need and urgency, not because of fulfillment that we want to move somewhere else. So if she presents, I need to know what my man is doing all the time. I need to know all the details what he's doing on the phone. I need to have all my finances separate from him and it's all 50-50. I need my independence. I don't need to receive. It's not really to do with the partner. It's to do with, I want to be more trusting and I want to be more letting go of control or my independence. But I can't because I am afraid I will lose everything and it will mean that I will have to uproot myself, correct? I will uproot myself and start all over again from the scratch with nothing. And it reminds me of my childhood when my dad lost money in the business. My mom didn't have an idea because she was not involved. And I had no influence on the situation. So we had to move. My mom was in a high distress. When we moved abroad, she would cry all the time. I felt very guilty. And if I would talk to my dad, I miss him because he couldn't move with us immediately. And I missed, the other part of the family. And it was all very heartbreaking. So it is very important for me to know and be up to date with what my partner is doing on his phone, with his finances, have my finances separate, because I cannot trust the man to know what to do. And the second of all is like, if he loses everything, then at least I have my own money and I want to feel secure. So you see, with the schemas, there is, I want this, but I can't really do this because if I allow this, this is the result of this. So you have two competing, this is my desire, but if I do this and I really want this, this is the price I'm going to pay for it. And it's so subconscious that it shows in behaviors of, I need to know what he's doing all the time, and I need to be checking on him, and almost like I'm mothering him and controlling, but it's not because of him, it's because of your own experience, right? So this is just an example of schema that is so unconscious that if you look at behavior, you think, wow, you must be jealous or he's doing something wrong. And it has literally nothing to do with the situation in the present moment. It has to do so much with the past experience of my client. So when we work with attachment and those behaviors, it's good to understand. And then we really look for what are the schemas that are creating all those behaviors, because there are schemas, let me tell you, and there are different parts of your psyche that are also playing a role. So this is what I want to leave you with, is that you make sense. The more you understand yourself, the more grace you have for yourself and people around you. You are always in choice to choose your boundaries. You are always in choice to really lean into deeper understanding of yourself. And that is never, it's never going to not work for you if you choose to really understand yourself. It will be very supportive, even if it feels hard in the beginning. And so there are a lot of patterns in relationships that people are challenged with, and you are not the only one that is challenged with whatever is going on in your life right now. Let me tell you, you don't have to feel shame or guilt, because there are more people that are experiencing at this moment what you are, and you are not alone, and you make sense. And there is a way to really come home to yourself and self-acceptance and understanding if you decide to do so. That's all for today. I will see you next week. Remember, may we stay deeply connected to ourselves and those around us.